This is James Pelton and have kind of a special treat for you today. I have an AMA that I did with Loki from Thor Financial. After the ring debacle where all the node projects kind of fell apart, I kind of just swore off all the node forks. And I said, okay, the rewards are too high. They're not going to be sustainable. And then we kind of we saw all the node projects fall apart. And kind of the same thing we're seeing with the Ohm projects right now, right? When you have this super inflationary token, when the market's going good, they do well. But when the market starts going down, the inflation takes over and people sell off because they have a lot to sell. But what drew my attention to Thor is as all these node projects were tanking, Thor did two things that were kind of unique. The first was they actually pivoted. Okay, and I think that's a really good thing to see from a team because, again, unpopular opinion, I don't think Ring was a rug pull. I think they just couldn't handle when the project fell apart. They didn't know what to do. They panicked and then, it started getting death threats and so they kind of ran off, right? They weren't able to pivot, okay? So that was the first thing I saw Thor do was their project was falling apart, their rewards were unsustainable, and they pivoted. And then the second thing is we've seen a lot of projects try to pivot, but pivoting only works if your community follows you. So again, maybe unpopular opinion, and sorry if you love these projects, but Soldier Nodes and Leave It To and some of the other node projects, they fell apart and then they tried to pivot, but their community had kind of lost faith in them and they didn't follow along. So when Thor said they were going to pivot, I was like, well, good thing they're pivoting, but community's probably lost faith and they're going to move on to other things. But what I saw in the Thor community is that the community was like 100% behind them. And I think that's really, those two things together is kind of a unique thing that I've seen in Thor. And like charts like this are pretty unique. Charts that had all-time, highs like this and then completely fell apart and then made a rise. Okay, I'm used to seeing charts where they hit a high and then they go down and then they just keep going down until they go out of existence. But that's not what's happened with Thor. So I did an AMA with Loki, one of the heads of Thor, and really what I was looking for was, first off, can I trust this team to not scam me? And second, can I trust this team to not be a bunch of idiots? And third thing, do they have a good community? And my answer with Thor was yes to those things. So I've bought in a few nodes. So here's a little bit of my discussion with Loki, and you can kind of judge for yourself. Hey, this is James Pelton, and I'm here with Loki from Thor Financial. Just going to ask a few questions about the Thor nodes and their project they've got going on. So just want to say thanks so much for being with us. And first question is, just how did you start Thor, or what was kind of the idea behind it, or how did it get started?
Sure. Well, I didn't start Thor. The actual developers started Thor. I actually found Thor a day after it launched. My history is I was a degen, a random anon investor about a month and a half ago. My last rug was in Snowdog, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, where I just said, I've had enough of this. So during that time, I was actually a moderator in the Ring server. I was the moderator that was, colloquially known as the guy who got banned after yelling at the devs for not being transparent and honest. And so after I was banned, I was looking for, similar fork projects. I stumbled upon Thor and realized these guys are fantastic developers with the right ethics and morals. They want to do this model right. They just don't, developers, they're not the best at communication. And that's always been the missing element, I find, even with really great protocols. There needs to be a clear and consistent stream of communication. So I came in and I essentially said, look, I'll build you up this community. We're going to make this project really successful. It was born half out of spite because I wanted to, put one over on the Ring devs for banning me. It's gradually snowballed since then into, essentially where we are now, which is, I may be biased, but I think we are officially the leading dual nodes as a service, DeFi as a service protocol.
That's awesome. And I know that like with all the rug pulls that there's been and everything, I know KYC is a really big thing. So where is Thor at with the KYC process?
So the lead dev has fully KYC'd with Azure. That was publicly posted. It's also listed up in our Discord. As for the rest of the team, we're still Anon. I'm probably one of the least Anon people on the team. I mean, obviously, everyone here can see my face, my profile picture, and my first name. As time goes on, we'll probably become more and more publicly known. But obviously, with the fallout from the ring situation, it's been a precarious situation for us. Especially for myself as an individual, I don't have a background of running protocols or running projects, so the advent of death threats really affected me emotionally.
Yes.
So my goal right now is just to really prove ourselves and prove ourselves through our actions.
And along with that, like, I know a lot of people who were burned by Ring have kind of just written off node projects in general. That's kind of where I was at. How would you respond to people that were burned by Ring and that are just hesitant to get into any other node projects?
Well, it's terrible for the entire market.
Right.
What we're trying to do here is we're trying to change DeFi into this new transparent way. In my opinion, DeFi is absolutely an essential need of an evolution. The culture needs to change here. And this happens, whenever there's a new industry that's like the Wild West that doesn't have regulations in. We see, the Wild West time, the gold rush times, and that's where a lot of these bad actors operate. But it's in my opinion that in order for DeFi to sustain long term, we need to really start looking at transforming our industry and creating what I'm calling the union of transparency, which is essentially like-minded ethical protocols all banding together to help self-police and self-regulate within our industry. If we want to start having institutional level investors, if we want to start having pension funds look at DeFi as a potential avenue to allocate their portfolios, we need to have a demonstrable, cleaner, safer environment for both investors and protocol owners. That's really where my whole goal is, and that's where my personal mission is.
People that were kind of burned by rings specifically, and they're just very hesitant.
Personally, I wouldn't blame them for having that opinion. Ring has done a tremendous disservice to DeFi as a whole. It's really shaken investors' trust, and I don't blame people for looking at other node projects with a suspect view. Having said that, what I think people need to do who are on the cusp is listen to the AMAs that we do, look at our actual investments that we've made, look at the fact that we've already introduced endpoints and validator nodes. We're the very first protocol to do that. Take a look at our actions and not our words.
Cool. And one of the questions that my community had was, could you talk just a little bit about the changes that you had to make in the contract when you kind of saw that the price action was falling apart a little bit?
So, what we've done is, because we're such a new protocol and this is such a new model, we've had to adjust and see how the market reacts and tweak our protocol consistently. So we've had both reward decreases from the initial reward amounts that we had. But what we've also done is we've tried to limit the artificial sale pressure that's put on by a protocol. Whenever someone was claiming or whenever someone was creating a node, the protocol would automatically sell the percentage of Thor into AVAX, and that would fuel the treasury growth. That put a lot of artificial sale pressure, that every time someone claimed on our protocol, every time someone made a node on our protocol, a new sale transaction was made, and that was negative for price action. So what we've done as in the interim here is we've maintained the same level taxes. However, the Thor is not automatically sold. The Thor goes directly into the treasury now. And once we roll out the new contracts and we see what those new contracts have, integration wise with the market and price action, we're going to be evaluating what the best decision to be done with that collected Thor over this next month. Whether that's something that we're going to strategically sell back onto the market and allow us to build up a treasury, or whether or not we're just going to burn or hold that Thor and keep it out of circulation.
Well, and I kind of tell my followers that what you're really looking for are two things. You're looking for a team that can pivot, but then a lot of teams can pivot, but then their community doesn't follow them. And that's what I've noticed with Thor, is that you both were able to pivot out of a bad situation, and then also your community's been behind you the whole way and has really supported you.
Well, that's the thing is, a lot of people really, this is, my biggest criticism on developers is they don't understand how valuable community communication and integration are. Right. We have an extremely strong community over at Thor because our community is respected and we communicate clearly and we provide updates and we're honest when mistakes are made and when issues are found. We don't try to hide away from that. We don't call everything fun. We're here order to create a long-term protocol.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, how sustainable do you think that your rewards are long term? I mean, you offer pretty big rewards, pretty good passive income. How sustainable do you think that is?
There's no question in my mind that it's going to have to be tweaked. And continuous tweaking is going to have to be done as we can have a stronger idea on what expected returns are going to be off of the treasury investments and exactly where the numbers are going to play out for the different revenue streams that we have in practice. We don't have any plans on changing the reward rates quite right now. We're seeing some fantastic price action. We're seeing a lot of buying demand. So there's no real reason to kick people while they're down at this point. But any changes that would have to happen will be clearly communicated and explained why, with ample notice being given to our users.
Yeah, well, and as a passive income guy, I would rather than having like super big returns that aren't sustainable, I'd rather have smaller rewards that last for a long time. So I'm glad to hear that.
Exactly. Look, what we're looking to build here is we're looking to build a consistent long-term passive income source for people. And I think the model that we're building out, as well as the advancements that we're making, will solidify us as the predominant passive income source.
Okay. And that leads me to my next question is, so you have a pretty big treasury now. What are you doing with that treasury, and what's kind of on the roadmap for what you plan to do going forward?
So the treasury was made public on day, I think it was either 2 or 3. Our first investment was made a day after that. So as of now, we're just finished up our 7th investment. The 7th investment was Phantom Validator Nodes. We really wanted to demonstrate the DeFi as a service model running, where a lot of other protocols kept all this information secret, and I didn't feel like they were utilizing their treasury values to actually produce returns. We wanted to, right from day one, demonstrate exactly who we are and what our intentions are. So we made our treasury fully public. We made a dashboard little page where people can check up on our treasury. And we've made consistent investments now. We've been around for about a month and a week, and we've done over 7 investments at this point. We're multi-million dollars into investments. Every investment that we make has its own channel. And the transactions are publicly listed, as well as the returns are publicly listed. We try to keep things as humanly transparent as possible. It's very important for us, for the community to know that while this is a new model and we're forging new ground here, we're keeping everyone posted of exactly where the results are. And over time, we want to continuously flesh out the treasury page, include the list of investments, current profit and losses using APIs through CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap and stuff like that. But right now, we're just in the building stage of continuously offering more utility to our protocol. And then we can start adding in the style elements after. And so what we did recently is we made every single one of our nodes, each individual RPC endpoints. And they're all private endpoints that, you can find your link, your own individual URL on the dashboard itself. But in addition to that, we really wanted to demonstrate our value and our love for different blockchains ecosystems and to help out different blockchains ecosystems. So we are the very first dual DeFi as a service, nodes as a service protocol that is purchased and is now operating 2 Phantom Validator nodes.
Kind of a difficult process getting those validator nodes set up.
It was. Certainly with us being trailblazers in this regard, we didn't necessarily have another protocol that we could look upon and see how they did it. We've forged this road ourselves the entire way. Luckily, we have been in communication and contact with the Phantom Foundation, which are a really great set of guys who helped us out in the process of generating our first Phantom Validator node, and they're helping us resync our second Phantom Validator node, which should be out by about Friday of next week.
I saw that Phantom actually tweeted at you guys the other day. That's pretty exciting.
Cool. Yeah, no, that was a fantastic moment. It was a fantastic moment. It's nice to get that props, and it's nice to be recognized as a protocol that doesn't just want to generate profits for our members and our community, but we also want to really solidify ourselves as blockchain supporting protocol.
Well, and I love the investment in Phantom because I think Phantom is just gonna blow up this year. It's super good chain.
We're betting that too. That's half the reason why we chose Phantom.
Yeah.
We do have some insider knowledge on what's coming out on the Phantom chain, and it makes us very excited about the future, especially for 2022 for Phantom.
Okay, so you have the FTM validators. What are your future plans for the treasury kind of going forward?
Well, after that, we're starting to work with a DeFi strategist that's helping us evaluate and do due diligence on potential projects. We're allowing the DeFi strategist right now to be evaluating for future investments. Our major goal in this interim time between the brand new contract being made and now is to have our treasury fully invested by the time that those new contracts go out. So we're looking to ramp up the amount of votes that we have and the amount of investments that we make, as well as the value of each investment. Both in the new contract update, every node is going to become an NFT. Where every node's going to be, you can sell it, you can transfer it to another wallet, you can do whatever you like. Transactions from those NFTs bring Thor a brand new revenue stream, which is through the royalties on trades being done on these NFTs. We're also looking to institute a lottery and staking function into the protocol as well. Essentially where people can use a small amount of their rewards to purchase a lottery ticket, potentially win a node, and the additional proceeds on top of that initial node cost then goes straight into our staking pools, causing a net zero increase in emissions on our reward payouts. So we're not introducing more tokens into the ecosystem. We're just finding new uses for those tokens, and it allows us to lock up a lot more value over time, and that will also have a nice beneficial reaction to the price.
So another question from my community is kind of, there's been probably six or seven of these different nodes that have popped up, Atlas nodes and Phoenix nodes and Comb Finance, who I have another AMA I'm doing with them. But what would you say makes Thor stand out from these other ones? Or what would you tell people who are, trying to decide where they should put their capital right now?
Well, I think look at the actions that Thor has done, and then look at the market cap of Thor. We have very securely now, in my opinion, taken the position of the leadership role within this space. You're totally fine to drink RC Cola if you'd like, but Coca-Cola also exists. And that's the way that I would really say. Take a look at our team and take a look at what we've done and what we're continuing to do. And I think you'll be absolutely pleasantly surprised by the future of our protocol. Having said that, we don't really believe in zero-sum games. So the protocols that you've mentioned here, especially especially Comb and especially Vapor nodes, these are protocols that work very closely with us. In fact, I'm on the Vapor Nodes team, I'm on the Power team, I'm on a few other teams as well, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a union of ethical protocols that all work in conjunction to help us change this DeFi space. If somebody has X amount of dollars, I'd look at Thor, but I would also look at participating in diversifying your portfolio across all the different chains and all the good protocols that fall within the union.
And strong nodes are one of my absolute favorite projects. What would you tell somebody who they have $7,000 and they're trying to decide, hey, should I do some Thor nodes? Should I do a strong node? What would you say to them?
My biggest recommendation for those people is to look at the model and to take a look at the different revenue streams. Ask yourself, when you're investing in a node protocol that's paying you out passive returns daily, where do those passive returns come from? Is it coming from new investors investing in and essentially creating a giant Ponzi, or are there revenue streams that are independent from new nodes being created? And I think that's a very important thing to ask yourself, and I think that helps you answer the longevity question. But Strong, in my opinion, has some issues with the model, where finding ways to monetize those endpoints is tremendously difficult. So being able to sustain rewards is a very tall task when you don't have an additional mechanism and revenue streams in place. That's the reason I truly believe the future of passive income and nodes as a service in general will be a dual DeFi as a service, nodes as a service model. I feel like that's the only way to actually generate returns and no longer have a structure like a Ponzi at all, where the actual returns that are paid out to the investors are paid for by the revenue generated by the protocol.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have for you. I think I'll let you go and cut this video off. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us here today. This was super informative for me. As I mentioned before, I have invested in Thor, so I like the team. I like the direction that you're going. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with before you go?
Well, no, I just wanted to say thank you very much, and it's an absolute privilege to be on your channel. I very much like you. I've watched you for a while, and it's an honor to be part of it.
Thanks so much, brother. Take care. So I hope that was helpful for you guys as you're trying to, wade through what you should put money into and not put money into. Leave a like down below and leave a comment. Do you like these AMAs? They're not my favorite. I think I like to hear my own voice more than other people's, but maybe I think that's a character flaw. So I'm happy to do more of these if you think they're helpful, or if there's other projects. We'll have one with Comb Finance coming out here shortly. But yeah, let me know what you'd like to hear more about. And I do try to at least read all the comments, although I can't answer all of them. But again, thanks to the Thor team, and have a good rest of your day.